So as you can see, I am fluent in English. I can speak English with ease, and this is actually my dominant language. But there are times where I feel like I'm stagnating. I feel that I can't really contribute much to a conversation. I'm not really learning any new words, and this is because I'm on cruise control mode. You know how boats or even a car, when they're on cruise control mode, they're not really accelerating. They are moving, but they're just steady. And that's how my English is. It's going, but it's not improving. So not being able to contribute much in conversations, of course, there are a lot of reasons. Sometimes you're just not in the mood. Sometimes you don't know the topic well enough to contribute. But sometimes you just keep on reusing the same words over and over again that you yourself feel that you're just like a broken cassette, like a broken record. Now, the thing is, being on cruise control mode isn't always a bad thing. It's okay if you feel comfortable and you don't really want to improve, you don't really have a specific goal. Being comfortable in your current level, and you can actually just get by with the current English, with your current level, it's totally fine. The problem is when you actually want to get somewhere, but for some reason you're stuck in cruise control mode. Let's say you do have a goal. You want to improve your English for academics purposes, or maybe because now you just got into a new job where English is required, or you want to prepare for a meeting with a lot of colleagues from overseas. Whatever your goal is, if you are not satisfied in your current level, it's important to get out of cruise control mode. In this video, I want to talk to you about one thing I do to get myself out of it. Before we go back to the video, if you need to speak English in your daily life because you're working in English or because you're living abroad and you need help to be more articulate with your speech, make sure to send me a DM on Instagram or send me an email here, and I will personally reply you with questions to see if we're fit to work together. Back to the video. So just to be clear, I don't have a problem in being in cruise control mode. I'm okay with not learning any new words. I'm okay with not sounding too professional in my work. I'm okay with not sounding too cool or too smart or too intelligent with new people. However, recently, I found a way where I actually got out of cruise control mode, and that is finding a role model. Finding a public figure or a thought leader or an influencer whose way of speaking you admire so much that make you think like, oh my God, they look so cool, I want to speak like that. This is actually a great push for you to get out of it, whether or not you have a goal to get better. So following people who inspire you is one of the best ways to add spice back into your English when you feel stagnant. It keeps you learning new, fresh vocabularies, different way of expressing things, or even a different way to structure your thoughts, or a different way to think. It completely opens your mind whenever you find new people to learn from. With role models that you admire, the thing is that you want to watch a lot of their videos. You want to listen to them speak as much as possible. And the more you do this, the more you're gonna start learning the way they speak, their rhythm, their intonation, and their way of thinking. So think about it, if you're actually idolizing someone, you're going to want to watch a lot of their videos. You're gonna want to listen to them speak, right? And with people you idolize, you don't have to push yourself or force yourself to watch them to learn English or whatever language you're learning. You naturally would want to listen to them because you just admire them so much. And the more you listen to them, the more you expose yourself to their way of speaking, the better you get at it, the more exposed you are. And it's a great feeling when you notice your English evolving, not because you memorize a word list, but because you've absorbed the language that feels alive and that feels connected to you. So I also want to show you a couple of my role models in this video, and maybe you can take some inspiration from them. So recently, about a couple of weeks ago, I discovered this woman. She's actually pretty young. She's like a 20-year-old Cambridge student in political science. So she's a debater. She does a lot of political debates, and she's obviously very sharp and articulate. And I've been picking up a lot of not only new vocabulary from her, but the way she express certain ideas, and also a lot of her ideas I share. So it's actually a good way for me to kind of like copy her a little bit, take inspiration from her to express certain ideas that I share with her. So the thing is, she's very much about politics, and sometimes I don't fully understand the references, and because like she talked about political theory, which isn't really my field, but that's okay. Even if I can't use all of it, I'm still expanding my exposure, and I'm expanding my horizon about new fields that I'm not fully, that I don't fully comprehend. And also noticing new patterns in her speech. It's also like a good way for me to learn a little bit of a British accent. So yeah. Now, so would I be able to engage in political debates just because I've been binge watching her videos? Of course not. She is fluent because she reads widely. She probably writes often because she's a student in Cambridge, and of course she would practice all of these ideas in depth, especially because she's in a debate club. So yeah, that's another conversation for another video. So another role model that I follow is Vanessa Lau. So I have been following her since 2019, 2020, and she's a social media guru. She also makes a lot of YouTube videos. She gives a lot of advice and tips about how to grow your channel and your business online. And a lot of the stuff that she talks about are problems that I'm facing in real life when it comes to my business. And also, she also talks about more personal stuff that I also resonate with. And when you find let's say a role model that you resonate with but is more articulate than you, it's very convenient to borrow some of their phrases and the way they explain things to represent your thoughts as well. So yeah, Vanessa Lau is a role model that I've been following for so long, and it's nice that I get to learn not only social media tips but also the way she expresses certain ideas and certain feelings as well. The next role model that I used to follow, I don't follow him as much anymore, is Matthew Hussey. So Matthew Hussey is a dating coach. I think he's one of the most famous dating coaches for women in the world. And when I was also dealing with more romantic problems in my life, I watch his videos a lot, and it's very handy because like a lot of the stuff that he talks about were also problems that I was facing at the time. So when I would hang out with my friends and I express certain sentiments and problems that I was facing with regards to dating, I used to borrow a lot of Matthew Hussey's way of expressing things, and I definitely gained fluency when it comes to talk about romance and dating thanks to Matthew Hussey. Watching his videos has helped me a lot in gaining fluency in this field. I also went through a phase of watching Jordan Peterson's psychology lectures. So he's a professor in a university in Canada, and naturally he uses like big academic words that you would actually learn in TOEFL and IELTS exams. But you would not necessarily use these words in casual conversations with friends or even with coworkers. So I did learn a lot of new vocabulary for him, but not necessarily applicable to real life. Here's the thing though, if I were to use these words that I learned from him, I would sound quite pretentious because these words are just very rare, quite esoteric. The thing is, it's very rare to use these words that he uses in a setting outside of academic classrooms. So I had a friend back then who was also a fan of Jordan Peterson, and he started using Jordan Peterson's words in his own life, and he was seen as pretentious and kind of like a know-it-all and a pseudo-academic in his circle of friends. And that's when I realized that when you choose a role model, you have to be critical. You have to think whether the way they speak is actually appropriate for the setting that you are in. Of course, you want to take inspiration, but you also need to filter. Like if a phrase or words sound unnatural to you, and then let's say when you were to speak about it not only one time but like a couple of times, and it still feels like your body just rejects it, maybe it doesn't belong to you just yet, and you need to be careful about using it in your daily life. Of course, sometimes you can argue that, I want to talk the way I talk and people just have to deal with it. If you want to go that route, you should totally go for it, but you have to also accept the fact that some people would kind of talk about it if they don't like the way you speak. My last role model that I don't really follow that much anymore was Chris Williamson. He's a podcaster, and I used to watch his podcast quite a bit, and he's very well spoken. he definitely uses certain phrases that I never have seen before in other speakers. And I actually tried to mimic the way he speaks, and I did sound quite intelligent but slightly pretentious if I were to speak like him. So I stopped doing that, and I also haven't been watching his videos anyway. So those are my how many was that, like 5 role models, and I would like for you to share your role models in the comments below, because it would be very fun to see different ways people take inspiration from. So yeah, comment down below to share, and if you like this video, make sure to give it a like for the algorithm, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Until then, hope you learned something new. Take care, and I'll see you next video. Bye bye.